How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Down to Earth with Krsitian Harloff. So this is our Monday through Friday UAP news channel. We talk about everything going on in the world of UAP news. It's been a little chaotic for me the last couple of days. I'm trying to put together this studio. So I know you're like, well, where was UAP Tuesday? Where was the news piece yesterday? I'm going to make up the full episode. It'll probably be out this week. It won't be UAP Tuesday. It'll probably either be UAP Thursday or UAP Friday, but we're going to get a full episode out there for you very, very soon. But I wanted to, and we'll probably cover this topic and more, but I have to talk about this Lue Elizondo thing. Now, there are certain excerpts that were leaked from the book that's coming out imminent, and there's a lot of things that he says in it that I think are going to be hard for a lot of people to swallow, to be completely honest with you. There's a lot of things in here that are out there, if you will. And it's the kind of stuff that you're like, yeah, in this book, there has to be some stuff that shakes it up. It has to be. But, this particular thing that we're going to talk about with, as you saw, and the reason you clicked on it, with the confirmation that there were indeed bodies that were found and the detail of them. Let's talk about that first, and then we'll get to what I think about it afterwards. Here it is. So from the book Eminent, from Lue Elizondo, clipped out here by Skyfire News, Lue writes, Hal looked at me, clearly weighing whether to bring me further into his circle of trust. Yes, Lue, it was real. And he said, you mean to tell me that a UAP actually crashed and we covered it up? To which he said, that's exactly what happened, he replied. I went quiet, and I let his words sink in. Hal went on to tell me something else that truly blew my mind. 4 deceased non-human bodies were in fact recovered from the 1947 Roswell crash. After processing that, I fired off a slew of questions, in head, out mouth. Have we recovered non-human bodies from other UAP crashes? He looked at me, as if debating how to answer. It was clear to me he wasn't ready to tell me the answer. I was still the new guy. We'll tell you more soon enough, he said. Is every incoming president told the truth? No. Well, what about Congress? What about the Gang of Eight? I said, referring to the legendary bipartisan group of political leaders supposedly charged with knowing all of America's black programs. Hal explained. The sad truth is DOD regards presidents, elected officials, and political appointees as temporary hires. They do not need to know since they will not be in their position for very long. Unless something happens or they really push for it, U.S. presidents do not get briefed, and those who have been briefed have only been given the most basic information. Like Neo in the movie Matrix, I inhaled that red pill. I already pre-ordered the book. I want to learn more of these stories. This wasn't so... There was another one about remote viewing and other things that were excerpts out there, but this particular thing was the kind of stuff I was hoping to get. The idea that he talked to Hal Putoff and the idea that these bodies were indeed recovered from Roswell, and that this is not something, what he said there and what he said Hal Putoff said about the president not being briefed on it. This is something that Stephen Greer said also in a documentary they saw, that this is the way that they looked at them. They looked at them as temporary hires, and that why am I divulging these secrets to someone that'll be here 4, 8 years, maybe, and why do that unless, as they say, they really push for it? And that makes a lot of sense. Now, you know, if you've been watching my channel, you know my stance on it. I think that there's a lot of different cover-ups, and there's a lot of different things. And do I think this is potentially absolutely what had happened? I do. But it doesn't take away from the fact that even though Lue Elizondo, who was indeed running this program or part of this program, was the major reason that we have this information from the New York Times back in 2017. And he had that, I believe it was him and Chris Mellon who were able to get that footage out. What kind of proof can Lue show? These stories, clearly, this stuff got leaked and people are going to be covering it. And inside of this community, we're going to be talking about it. Skyfire News putting out those clips, other people talking about these things that potentially happen, right? I'll be covering this stuff as it comes out. When I read the book, I'll be covering and talking about more of it when it comes out. But what is it going to take You know what? Because right now it's a fascinating. If the book's going to be like this, it's going to be fascinating books that people can say, right. But this is somebody who says these things happen. How do you prove that these particular things happen? And how do you prove it? What kind of proof is there? And I think, does it lead up to more things? And does it lead up to more conversations that potentially could mean, okay, Lue's going to testify. This person will testify. Hal Putoff will testify. Those types of things. Now, will that happen? Probably not. But those types of stories to also say, yeah, this, like in the same way that when they did that 2017 New York Times article, and Leslie Kean and well, not the people at the New York Times who went over and said, well, we're going to talk to Harry Reid, but he's not going to tell us anything, confirm anything. And he did. So maybe it's one of those things where we're like, okay, maybe these people, we don't think that they will, and then they do. If you listen to what the Soul Foundation says, and then there's other stuff that we're going to cover on either tomorrow or in the full podcast, stuff that Gary Nolan has been talking about what disclosure will look like on day one and what it will look like on day two. And they are looking towards things that are kind of going in motion. Is this part of the going in motion? Is this part, the book release and these stories? And then people saying, yeah, you know what, that excerpt came out because what I think will happen and what should happen is these particular stories that Lue is talking about, there will be follow-up from reporters to the people that he's talking about. If they, A, will give a comment, B, still alive, whatever it is, and they say, hey, listen, Lue Elizondo says this happened. Can you confirm or deny this particular conversation? They're either going to say no comment, they're either going to say Lue is not telling the truth, or they're going to say that's a true story. We had that conversation. And if they went to Hal Putoff and said, hey, what do you say about this? And he says, you know what? I'm tired of hiding it. That's exactly what I said. I stand by it. And then it starts to more and more people saying, oh, wait a minute. He says that's true also. And then eventually, I'm telling you, I know that a lot of you, and rightfully so, are like mainstream media and legacy media. Who gives a crap what they think? And they're all compromised, all of them. I couldn't agree more with you. Doesn't change the fact that they have a strong foothold on the public. And if you get these certain stories out there from those mainstream medias and things you just can't, hold back anymore, that's when it will change. Ain't going to change until November, I'll tell you that. The news cycle is dominated by the election right now, and it will be until November, and even a little bit after that. So we're not going to hear anything about this stuff for quite a while. So these stories are going to be this one when this book comes out. These will be my channel, vetted other channels that are covering this stuff. I always say support them, support everybody who's talking about this right now, because that's where you're going to get your news from this topic for quite a bit. I haven't seen News Nation cover it in a little bit. I'm sure Ross Coulthard is doing his show, but I don't see The Hill's not covering it anymore, and these other places aren't covering it as much. So whoever is covering it, support them and share it, because you don't want to lose. You don't want to lose hope in that people are covering it, because that's the main thing. I talked to somebody yesterday about this, and they're like, well, yeah, at one point it seemed like that the UFO topic was really big, and now it's gone. It's like, no, it's not gone. People are talking about it. There's tons of news out there. There's tons of things out there. It's not being covered as much. So anyway, what do you think about this excerpt from the book? Do you want to get the book? Do you believe these stories from Lue Elizondo? If so, what do you make of this interaction with Hal Putoff? If not, do you think that these types of stories are just going to be fantasy throughout the entire book? What say you? Put your comments in there. And if you're brand new to the channel, we are so close to 30,000 subscribers. Hit that button, man. Trying to get there. I think we can get there. We'll be back here tomorrow. I don't know when the full long form episode is going to be here. It'll be, like I said, it'll be tomorrow, Friday, when I get to it, and I will get to it this week. But hang tight. All right. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you, and we'll see you later.